104.5 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball. Levack and Wolf going to the dark side and getting knowledge from someone in the know. Her name is Jen McCaffrey. She is a Boston Red Sox reporter for both Mass Live and the Springfield Republican. First of all, Jen, thank you for coming into enemy territory. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, you guys make a big trade today. You bring in a left-handed arm. What do we need to know about the deal between the Red Sox and the Padres?
Yeah, I think we've kind of seen Dombrowski since he kind of joined the club last August. Kind of make these big moves a little bit ahead of time. We had Kimbrel in the off season coming from San Diego trading, the 4 prospects, and now we've got Drew Pomeranz coming from San Diego for one of the Red Sox top pitching prospects, 18-year-old Anderson Espinoza. So I think people were a little surprised that Dombrowski would give up Espinoza for a guy like Pomeranz, but on the other side of things, Pomeranz has had a really good season. 17 starts, I think he has like a 2.50 ERA or something right around there. The walks are a little bit of a concern. I think it's like 3 or 3.5 per 9 innings, but 10 strikeouts per 9. So, and a lefty arm, if they can get Eduardo Rodriguez back on track, and he's going to be starting Saturday against the Yankees, then, you've got 3 lefties in the rotation with Price, obviously, at the top. So I think that's kind of what Dombrowski was looking for in the 1-for-1 trade. He didn't want to give up Andrew Benintendi or Yoan Moncada, 2 of the top prospects for the Red Sox. So I think, this is kind of, from what he was saying on his conference call last night after they made the trade, this was kind of the best option that he had, and didn't want to wait too long and not get anything. So we'll see how Pomeranz plays out here, and it'll be interesting to see, what kind of transpires over the next couple weeks.
Jen, do you expect more moves from the franchise and the mindset about going for a division title this season? What do you think's going on with that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I think getting, Dombrowski has kind of always, since he's been here, like I just said, has laid out a plan and gotten kind of been methodical in checking off, his checklist. He last year, he got last off season, he needed a starter, an outfielder, and a closer. He got all 3. This trading deadline, he wanted a starter, a reliever, and some infield help. He got Aaron Hill and Michael Martinez. He got Brad Ziegler last week, and he picks up Pomeranz yesterday. So, I think, that point, giving up a guy of Anderson Espinoza's talent points that they're really pushing for this, this obviously wild card, but the division insight as well. The division, there's so much parity as we've seen this year and even in years past, that I think anything's up for grabs at this point. So, adding a starter, making sure that they get one, and one that's doing pretty well this season, then I think, that points to them making an all-out push for the division this year. And in terms of if they'll add anything more, last night on the conference call, he said he wouldn't rule anything out, but he thinks that the major moves are done. Obviously, we're not going to bank on, he could be, saying that to kind of play anybody off, but they could use another bullpen arm. Junichi Tazawa is put on the disabled list, backtracked it before the All-Star break, but he's had some kind of fatigue issues in the past. Obviously, Koji Ohara's, aging, and the same thing with him. He hasn't been the same that he has been over the past few years that they've had him. And Kimbrel's on the DL for 3 to 6 weeks with the knee injury. So they pick up Brad Ziegler from Arizona, but, there's kind of a little bit of uncertainty there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get another extra bullpen arm. But I think, the major moves are probably done for now.
Jen McCaffrey joins us. She covers the Red Sox for both Mass Live and the Springfield Republican. So, Jen, tonight's the night. We start the second half of the season. A lot of people believe that if the Yankees don't go through these next 7 games and play well, they're going to be sellers. As the rivalry stands, how bad does Boston want to make the Yankees sellers in these next 3 games?
Oh, sure. Obviously, I think that rivalry was standing, like, people, obviously, people have always said, the past 5 to 6 years or so, obviously since they won the Red Sox won in 2004, that the rivalry hasn't been the same. And you can see that. But at the same time, I think they want to stick it to anybody in their division and kind of open the floodgates a little. And maybe they'd even be in, if they can pull 2 out of 3 against the Yankees this weekend, or even sweep the Yankees, and force them to maybe, sell on Chapman or Andrew Miller, I think that would only be good in their favor. Maybe they'd even be going after guys like them. So to bolster the bullpen, like I was just saying. So I mean, I don't think anything's off the table in terms of they're going to take things lightly. I think they're going to, not just for the Yankees, but for the Red Sox heading into the All-Star break, weren't doing very well. They had a terrible homestand or a terrible road trip, and then went into the homestand and kind of picked things up a little bit. But they kind of need to get off to a hot start as well, to just kind of even things out and kind of turn a fresh page. So yeah, this will be a pretty interesting series this weekend.
Now, the big pitching matchup Sunday between Price and Tanaka, do you expect Price to have a hugely successful second half of the season for the Red Sox? What's the expectation there?
You would have expected him to be a lot better than he has been up to this point. So, maybe the All-Star break will kind of give him a little bit of a chance to kind of clear his head. And, the last start before the break, he pitched that Sunday before the break, was remarkably better than he had been in the previous 6 to 10 starts, and he's kind of been slowly getting better each of his last few starts. And I think this past one was kind of a punctuation point on the season so far. So it seems like he's kind of picking things up slowly but surely. If he can do something, something similar to what he did right before the break, on Sunday in Yankee Stadium, then that would go a long way. And he just doesn't from his track record. You have to kind of bank on the fact that he's gonna pull something together at some point. And maybe he's not gonna throw a 2.50 ERA out there the rest of the way. But if he can pull that ERA closer to 3, then or 2.95, right around that area, I think people will be a little bit more relieved at what the Red Sox are paying him, and kind of hopefully he'll kind of figure things out for them so they don't feel the pressure that they've been feeling with him, the past 3 or 4 months or so.
Jen McCaffrey with us. She covers the Sox. And now, so we've been having a long-running debate here with, we've got some Boston fans in the Capital Region, which shocks me, but hey, it happens. Ortiz, he's calling it a career. He's hanging it up. He's kind of doing that Jeter tour almost, where everybody gets a chance to kind of pay respect. As somebody who covers the Sox behind enemy lines, what do you think the Yankees should do his last game here in New York?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I thought you were going to ask me if I thought he was going to retire, because I know that's from the question, and I can absolutely tell you that he gets so much treatment before games. He's like hobbling around, that the question of whether or not he's going to retire is not even a question, because just the work that he kind of needs to get done before games, it's kind of laughable to think, some people thinking that he's going to pull a turnaround and say he's not retiring.
But he's still awesome though somehow, Jen. Like, he's having one of the best years.
So I think so. To that point, I think when you're kind of like going out, and he's the kind of guy that's not going to want to go out, dragging his feet and kind of hitting like 160 and hitting 5 home runs. I think that he's doing so well this season because he's giving every single thing that he has. And he's obviously a very prideful guy, and takes a lot of pride in what he does, and kind of showing people what he can do and where he's come from and all of that. So I think the fact that he's doing so well is a part of it. Obviously, he's a tremendous hitter, but part of it has to do with he wants to go out on top. He doesn't, he's kind of giving everything he has, and who's to say if he even came back next year, he'd even have anything left, because he put so much in this year. But as far as what the Yankees could do for him in his final game here in New York, I mean, I thought, it'll be really interesting to see if they pull up any of that ALCS footage, or any, I don't know, a plaque of some sort. I know, the Red Sox had a pretty big ceremony for Rivera in his final game at Fenway, and Jeter as well. So I guess maybe they'll kind of look to those things as kind of templates. But that'll be pretty interesting to see how Yankee fans receive Ortiz in his final game, and how the team will treat him. And I would assume both teams have been pretty respectful of each other in that sense when it comes to, their marquee players retiring. So I would assume it would be something, pretty well done. The Yankees always do events like that big and seem to kind of, make a moment of them. So I wouldn't expect anything less than that from them.
See, I was thinking video montage and that's it. Like just kind of reignite the rivalry by not doing anything too special.
Maybe, maybe, I haven't even thought that far ahead. But yeah, maybe that's on the horizon. Who knows? That'll be an interesting thing to kind of to think about.
The other thing is, all right, now I'm a known Red Sox hater. It's not even like I don't even try and hide it. But when Pete Rose comes out and says that Ortiz is a borderline at best Hall of Famer, I even think that's crazy. What do the people of Boston think about Pete Rose's Ortiz comments?
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think most people think it's crazy as well. Like you just said, I think most people can kind of the PED era is someone's going to make it in eventually, and maybe someone's already there that we haven't really that hasn't been come out with anything yet. So I mean, so if someone's going to make it that we know of, it's going to be Ortiz. It just from what he's done, the 3 World Series that he's helped Boston win, the 500 home runs. I mean, he's done so much, even just for the game and for even if you're kind of looking at it from a historical perspective, for all the young Dominican players that kind of come up and are just a number of guys that idolize him and kind of watched him growing up and, fought through things because they wanted to be like him and play against him and things like that. I mean, you can say that about a few other guys ahead of him, obviously, but just for what he's kind of, I guess, represents for the game and just his talent overall, I don't think that you can overlook it. And, in 5 or 6 years, when he's up at 2020, 4 years, I guess, I'll be curious to see how kind of the tide has shifted in terms of who people are looking at and who's been let in and whatnot at that point.
Jen McCaffrey, she covers the Red Sox for Mass Live and for Springfield Republican. We appreciate your time so much. As most of the enemy reporters go, I think you're pretty good. I like you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.